subscribe for more inspiration. But if you want to know more in depth on how Lil Durk started his dreadlocks, make sure to watch the first video on him. You could just search up Lil Durk Dreadlocks and it'll come up. But one thing I want to point out that I pointed out in the first video of Lil Durk is looking at his sections. First things first, you'll notice it looks as though his sections were just made by themselves. But looking at how clean his sections are, these are actually intentional. Now, I've seen people do square sections. I've seen people do somewhat of a circle section, although you can't really do that because all of them can't be circles. But I think the most popular is square, and then obviously you guys have seen triangle sections as well. But what's really interesting about Lil Durk's dreadlocks is he has more of an organic sections, and that's just at first glance. But looking at these photos that I'm going to show you in today's video, we'll see that he actually has octagonal sections, or pentagonal, whatever you want to call them. But looking at them, all the sides are established and all of his sections are pretty well put together. Now, there is two ways that this is possible. They either did his sections like this initially, or he started out with a semi-freeform method to where he allowed his hair to section on his own, and then somebody came in afterward and then created the sections. One thing to take note of is if they were to create his sections this way, whoever his loctician is, they made huge sections, and that could have just been what he requested. Because in my opinion, his sections are extremely huge, especially for his hair type being such a tight hair type. But like I said, he could have requested this, and he could have requested more of an organic section as well. But you can also achieve this look by either starting out with sponge rub and then allowing your hair to initially lock up and then get into stage number 2 and then create your sections and be more clean about it. You can always come back in and create better sections. Although it is a little harder, it's still possible. And that's why his sections are so clean. And believe it or not, when it comes to twisting with gel, which he actually does, and then he does hairstyles like we see right here, he has the box braids, and I believe he also does 2-strand twists as well. But one thing to take note of, when doing twisting with gel or a 2-strand twist, or any hairstyle for the matter, it always takes some sort of resectioning, because over time the hair always wants to try to combine with the dreadlock next to it. That's just the nature of dreadlocks. They always want to lock up with each other. And that's why it takes separation and maintenance, whatever maintenance you choose, even if it's crochet hooking or locking gel, or even interlocking. All of those require you to separate the dreadlocks in order to maintain them again. Even if it's just a couple strands of hair into another dreadlock, there still requires separation. So anytime you do maintenance, it always requires separation at first. So that's one thing to keep in mind when either starting or keeping your dreadlocks. Another thing I want to point out is that not only are his dreadlocks bleached now, but he's going for more of a platinum blonde look. And that's easily achieved by using purple shampoo and also using an actual platinum blonde hair dye. But obviously you can't achieve the platinum blonde look without bleaching the hair first. And I feel like that's a little misconception. A lot of people don't know that you have to actually bleach your hair in order to dye certain colors. Even if you were to bleach it and get it a platinum blonde. Some people think they can just bleach their hair and it becomes platinum blonde, or even blonde in general. But when you bleach the hair, it turns an orange color, or more of a copper color. Especially if your hair is black, just like Lil Durk. If you want it to be really bright and light, it takes other things as well. But if you want to know more things to look out for when bleaching and dyeing the hair, make sure to watch the video I did on Lil Pump just recently. But with that being said, Lil Durk's dreadlocks still look really healthy, and the reason being is because they're extremely thick, like I mentioned earlier, with his sections being really big, which right now is actually playing to his advantage. And in my opinion, I really love thick dreadlocks. And you typically see thick dreadlocks when it comes to freeform dreadlocks or more of a semi-freeform look, or even when it comes to Wicks, which is very popular in the South. But I will say it's extremely rare to see people get thick dreadlocks that aren't Wicks, but they're somewhere in between. But interestingly enough, we see Lil Durk with thick dreadlocks, and we also see Polo G with thick dreadlocks. And what's really interesting about them both is looking at the dreadlocks themselves, they don't look that thick because they do them in hairstyles so often. So that's just a quick tip for you guys as well. If you think your dreadlocks are extremely thick, then put them in a hairstyle. And I recommend doing 2-strand twist, or box braids, or even cornrows. These all not only help tighten your dreadlocks and make them more skinny, but they make them appear skinny just because they're inside of a hairstyle. And that's just a tip. Trust me, it actually works. So in this photo, you're able to see not only his organic sections, we see that some of his sections are actually triangles. And then some of the other sections are squares, and some of them are octagons, some are pentagons. All of his sections are extremely organic. They're not all the same. But one thing you will notice is that all of his sections are extremely clean and well put together. So like I said, I'm not sure if that happened from jump, like they started out that way, or if he's doing like my first set of dreadlocks to where he started out with more of an organic method like sponge rub, which creates organic sections, or he just allowed his hair to freeform at the beginning stages, which I don't think that's the case, but then afterwards started to maintain it. And we've seen this with Sway Lee, to where he started out with a freeform look and then went in with extreme maintenance with twisting with gel and doing different hairstyles. But one thing you will notice about Lil Durk is he's typically always maintained with the roots. And I just think that's always good. Makes the hair look really clean. But with it being clean, I wanted to add that he doesn't have a tapered hairline, which typically people